Hello, my name's Gordon of Festool UK and welcome to the FFX Winter Tool Show. Have a look now at my good friends Carl and Alan presenting the Unbeatable Double from Festool.
Hi, so you join me and Alan here in front of a couple of tools.
Hello.
It'd be really remiss of us to talk about Festool ranges and not talk about our award-winning, outstanding Unbeatable Double.
Yes.
We think that most of you understand a few things about the tools, but we keep getting some repetitive questions. So we wanted to take the opportunity just to go through those questions, hopefully clear up some of the answers and what the difference is to the machines where the changes and upgrades have been made. So I'm going to start off with our TSC55KEB, but I'm also at this point going to talk about the mains powered partner, the TS55F. So what have we done? Look at the machines, they look very similar to the previous R models. They are pretty much functioning exactly the same. Myself, Alan, we've had a lot of time with these tools now. Have you found anything different to the previous models at that point?
A lot different in a way, because they are just so much better, but in another way, they are very similar.
Yeah, and we've done that on purpose. We've purposely tried to keep them the same as the tools that everybody knows, so the setup the same, the way you connect them to the rails is the same, it's all exactly the same. So what have we changed? Well, the first thing is, the little bit of a giveaway here on my right hand side, it's about the blades. What we've done is we've moved from a thicker kerf blade to a thinner kerf blade. For those of you that want to know, it's 2.2 millimeters on the older machines and 1.8 millimeters on the newer machines. But, of course, Festool, it's about our system, it's about cutting different materials. We have the multi-material speed control on both machines to suit the material and the application, but of course you've got to change the blade. So we still have our rip cutting blade for rip cutting, our universal blade for cross cutting and rip cutting on soft timbers to medium density timbers, and then our 42 tooth blade for our fine cutting. So the machine is supplied with one of those 42 tooth, but most people will buy an extra one sharp, one away with the sharpeners, yeah? So still available. And then of course, our specialist blades on the back. We have our abrasive materials blade for cutting gypsum type concrete materials. We have our blue blade, which is for aluminiums and plastics, and our red blade for high pressure laminates and solid surface. So all still the same as before, the colours mean the same thing. We've literally just changed some of the tooth configurations, but made the blades thinner. And that's where the change with the corded version finishes. So we can pop that one back over here.
Was there something that's F? It's TF55F.
Yeah, so F for Festool stood for facelift.
Right, I thought it was fresh.
Facelifted it, the model, but for me it's called fast. Because the advantage of what the blades have done is it's made both machines 100% faster in hardwoods and 50% faster in softwoods. And that's where it really comes in particular with the cordless and why I've put the corded to one side. Because of course, with the cordless tool, we're running from batteries. And batteries take power to run the machine. The fact that we're using a blade that now cuts up to twice as fast means we get up to twice as long out of our batteries.
Absolutely.
So a real big shift in thought process and what the machine's capabilities are by making that blade thinner. We're removing less spoil, there's less tearing, there's less power needed, so we get much longer run times out of our batteries. But on top of that, we wanted to make our cordless even safer. Why? Because we know people push to the extremes with cordless, because cordless can go everywhere. So people will use the machine one-handed. They may be a little bit quick because the rain might start, because they're outside, they're not tethered to any electric. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to put something called kick back stop technology into the machine. And that is the question that we're getting day in, day out. What is this kick back stop technology that you're talking about, Festool? Don't quite understand it. Is it the same as your TKS saw? Our TKS80 is source stop technology or source stop AIM technology, and that's where a cartridge is fired into the blade is then rendered redundant, it needs to be changed. With kickback stop technology, it's an action where we're controlling the motor of the machine to stop it instantly, meaning we don't cause any damage whatsoever to the tool, the blade, the material, the rail, or our hands. It's that simple. So, how does it work? The way it works is, rather than have an arriving knife in the bottom of the tool, we have a feeler gauge. And that feeler gauge is looking for the surface of the material that you're cutting, or obviously if using a guide rail, looking for the surface of the guide rail. That feeler gauge deploys as soon as the blade drops down. If that feeler gauge isn't held in by the material and fully extends, the clever electronics will stop faster than a blink of an eye, the machine rotating, and stop the machine lifting out of the material, coming back across the material, the rail, or into your fingers, dare I say it, and causing damage.
That's just a great feature, isn't it?
Make sense? Yeah?
Absolutely.
So let's see it in action. It's better to show you than it is to keep talking about it. So we apply, of course, the 2 batteries to the machine to give us that 36 volt power with 2 18 volt batteries. I apply my safety specs. I want to reduce the dust. So, of course, I apply extraction to the tool.
Wouldn't do it without it.
Yep. I've set the machine at just shy of 40 millimeters. I have a piece of 40 millimeter beech worktop, so it's hardwood, and I'm going to plunge in, and I'm purposely going to go too fast. I'm not going to hold the tool excessively tight. I'm going to do all the things that are wrong and could induce kickback to happen. And kickback can happen to any saw. It's not just Festool, it's everybody. So, without further ado, shall we do it?
I never get tired of this.
Turn the extraction on. Hopefully, you could hear that sound through my microphone. And what that was the kickback stop technology telling me it had deployed. What you couldn't see from that side of the camera was the red light on this side was also flashing. So the technology has deployed, and you can see I've done no damage to the tool. I've done no damage to the batteries. I'm just taking them out so I can show you the blade. I've done no damage to the blade. I've done no damage to the material, and I've done no damage to my rail. And if I can still count correctly, I have all 10 digits. So there we have it, kick, back, stop technology.
That is so clever. And you know, Cole, I have come across customers who have had accidents with the TSC, and what most people do, I've caught myself doing it as well, is generally your one hand is behind the saw because you're holding the guardrail, and then you're trying to plunge in with this hand, and we've come across some really horrendous stories with us. So this is such a wonderful safety feature. Please don't underestimate how this can save you having the kickback stop.
Yeah, so within 90 millimeters of movement, it means that the saw will stop within 90 millimeters of movement backwards or 90 millimeters of movement up. And we're absolutely, completely safe. And then the next question we always get is, it's too good to be true. You must have damaged the rail, Carl. You must have damaged the blade. You must have damaged the material. No, not at all. Just putting the batteries back in. Obviously, always take them out for safety when exposing the blade or inspecting the blade. Again, back on. I'm not going to go right through because I don't want to cut into the table, so I'm going to set myself at 20 millimeters. Can I then do a cut through this piece of beech? Not changed anything. Just lift that up out the way. And there you have it. Back to perfect results every time.
That is just fantastic. And Cole, the power, what amazes me is every time I hear the cordless rail saw, is you can just hear the power. Because a lot of people are quite reticent of cordless machines, aren't they?
Yeah, some people have made the switch. Some people haven't yet had the confidence to make the switch. Personally, and for a lot of people that we speak to, I think the cordless is a bit more powerful than the mains.
It's just incredible. And yeah, in our Festool training room, we've got power wherever we look. There's plug points. But you know what? Whenever I'm doing anything in here, I grab the cordless machine first because it is just the safety features and it's just so lovely to use cordless. That's just great. Yeah, Festool's very clever.
Awesome. So hopefully that clears kickback stop. What we've done to change our TSC with the new 55KEB model, as I say, everything else is the same. If you do want more information, if it's the first time you've seen this or it's the first time you're looking into purchasing one of these, there is plenty of content on our YouTube channel, which is Festool TV UK. Type that into your YouTube search engine and you will find all of the videos online at the touch of a button for a deeper dive, should you want it, into these products.
Thank you, Carl. Absolutely fantastic. And there is a reason why they call it the Unbeatable Double. And that is because we have the new TPC and TDC combination drill drivers. But you may ask, why is it tied to a rail saw, plunge saw, the Festool fresh plunge saw? And that's because this also has got kickback stop in it. So I don't know if you've ever experienced those instances where you're up on a ladder, you're doing roofing. It normally happens when you're in the most precarious position that you can find yourself, and suddenly the drill jams and starts spinning around, and it can be very, very dangerous. So our new TPC and TDC drills have now got kickback stop in them. So I can demonstrate it to you very quickly. In gear 4, so the drill's spinning at a really nice RPM. What I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly flick my wrist to represent kickback stop, and you'll just hear the drill kickback stop kicking in and making your life that much safer. There it is. It's that simple. I've still got my finger on the trigger of the drill, and all I do now is I release my finger and the drill is now back to normal operation. It's back to go. So let me show you how that works. I'll put a nice big hole saw on the drill.
And a hole saw is a typical application, Al, of where a very heavy duty combi drill or drill driver will jam.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm going to hold this with two hands, but I'm going to hold it very, very lightly, and I'm going to try and get it to jam, and you'll hear the reaction of the drill saving my fingers. Sorry, Carl. Safety glasses. Isn't that fantastic? So instead of me swinging around, my arm twisted off, my wrist twisted off, because this drill is so immensely powerful, just slightest kick and a snagging of the drill bit in the material, and the drill just stops dead, just like that. So if I was working on a ladder, up on a roof, in a precarious position, that is a brilliant safety feature to have on the TPC. And that's on the TPC. Sorry, I keep on saying the TPC. It is my favorite. There's also on the TDC as well. So we do get a lot of questions. What is the difference? Because there's a lot of you out there with our original PDC or DRC drills. And we're getting a lot of questions is what is the actual difference between the new model and the existing PDC models? Because there are so many out there and so many customers absolutely loving the existing PDC models. There are so many, let's just try and run through them quite quickly because there are a lot of features. For me, one of the greatest features is the new changer, the gear changer on the TPC. In the whole market, this is probably the best gear changer that there is. It is just superb to use. If it's cold, if you've got thick rigger gloves on, or if your fingers are a bit frozen, this is so easy to make a change between 2, 3, jump to 4, jump back to 1. Whichever gear you want to be in, the selector is just a dream to use. It is just fantastic. But of course, it's not only the selector, but it's what's behind the selector, because the whole gearbox has been completely rebuilt. You've got much more power now in gear 2 than what you've ever had, up to 40% more power than the PDC. the TPC's predecessor. So you got a lot more power there. But I think what a lot of people, I come across some customers who actually just never use the gears. But I think what I've started to become aware of is that this drill, the gear options is just fantastic. It's just phenomenal. We did a test on having the selection of gears with different applications, and it can make you so much more efficient that on some projects where you on the project until Saturday afternoon because you only got a 1 or 2 speed gearbox, because you've got the TPC, you can walk off the project on a Thursday morning because it makes you that much more efficient at what you're doing. Because you can select. So gear 1 is much slower, but so much more power. So you're almost unlimited on this drill as to power delivery. But then where you need to be, you can be incredibly quick on gear 4, but with a little bit less power. So for those applications where you need speed and efficiency with smaller screws, smaller drills, even 4 snip bits, you get a lovely clean cut on gear 4. But then you've also got options in between. So if you find gear 4, you need a little bit more power, jump down to gear 3. Perhaps a little bit more power, jump to gear 2. There's occasions when you need more speed, jump to gear 4. You can be so efficient having that speed and that gearbox. The whole handle has been redesigned, so the TPC is much more ergonomic, beautifully balanced, so nice to hold as a drill driver. It is just lovely. The bit storage has been replaced. So you now got on the side, so it's completely out the way. So if you grab the drill, I've got quite big paws. With gloves, perhaps, you can't sweep any bits off. It's completely out the way. This is probably unique in the market in that if you're a lefty, I know there are a few of us out there, you can change the direction of the drilling using the Festool work cap, and you've got that control and the ability on the new TPC, or of course, let's not forget about the TDC. The torque dial has changed, so it's at the back here where it's a lot more visibility. You've got slightly more choice, and you've also got more choice with the lighting and power options as well. That's another nice, lovely little change. And then light is really, really good on this drill. You've got 3 safety features that I haven't even come to mention yet. The first safety feature, of course, the kickback stop, we've showed you that. The next safety feature is you're completely insulated and isolated if you go through any electric cables on this drill. So that's a really lovely safety feature. And then also the handle has been extended because of course you've got more power on this drill as well. And there's also a nice little safety feature with this extra securing latch over here as well. So if you haven't quite tightened this all the way that it should, and you're drilling, it's impossible for this handle to fall off the drill. Sorry, maybe I should have explained. So these two are family, but the differences between them is that the TPC on this side, you've got a function here to change to masonry drilling. So this masonry function is a percussion function. So what you'd do when you're drilling into soft masonry is change the gear setting to gear 3 or 4. So you've got a really nice high RPM, and this is great for soft masonry applications. Whereas, of course, for harder masonry, you'll still use your SDS hammer drill, but your TDC doesn't have that selector. So your TDC is purely just a drill driver without the masonry function on it, and that's the only difference between them. I think there's a small price difference between them. But they come in the same sets. You've got bare options and you've got set options of them as well. Carl, is there anything I've forgotten?
No, but I'm really interested by all of the accessories you've got there on the table, because
yes,
at least one of those I know that you couldn't get on the predecessor.
Yes, thank you, Carl. I had forgotten about this. So of course on Festool drill driver, you've got the fast fix attachment over here. Those of you who are not familiar with it, you can put a 1/4 inch bit straight into that. You've got, it's sad how much I love the Centratec chuck. You can put your Centratec chuck straight on, but another change is the steel chuck, which we've brought out new, and this comes as standard delivery to all the TPC, TDC scope of deliveries that'll be coming out. Nice, new, really tough steel chuck. And then of course, you've got this little beauty over here, angle chuck. So to attach it to the drill, you bring it on. Sometimes you may just need to turn it to engage it in place. You can lock it off with the light blue ring, but then to adjust the angle, you can just turn that ring like that. And you can quickly change it or finally change it, or you can just sweep it around or go the other way, of course, as well. And that change is just wonderful. On our older versions of this, you only take the whole chuck off to reposition and then seat it back in again. But that is just a lovely change to the angle chuck. And also the off-center eccentric chuck. So again, nested in, lock it off with a light blue ring. And the adjustment on this is just so nice because you can do it either direction. Either take a slow adjustment or you can turn it around quickly. It is just fantastic to have that control. And these are backwards compatible as well. So if you've got the T or C18 drill drivers, these are a great addition to your tool portfolio. So add them to your shopping basket right now because they are just fantastic. Cole, that's enough of me. What have you got to show us?
Yeah, so just a couple of things on the bench here that I thought would be really worth running through. As they're extremely new, and again we're getting questions on them when we're talking about the saw, is we have obviously our rail system, but we have two accessories now available to help you with your rail system. So for a while now we've had the FSWA90, which as it suggests connects the rail to give us a perfect 90-degree reference point from the face that we're cutting from.
It's so brilliant, isn't it? I've loved using it.
Still there, absolutely in the range. Buy it, love it, you'll get on with it, no problem at all.
And you won't regret it. It is a great bit of kit.
But we have launched another version. And I think this is where the differences of people not quite understanding what they are. Very similar in name, but this is the FSWA. Stop. All right, so no numbers at the end because the numbers are what you make them. It's that easy. So we have an adjustable point here that we can open and we can adjust between 0 and 60 degrees to the right and left hand side. So now we can make cuts referencing from the face at the angle of your choice. There are preset angles that are locked in just like they are on a miter saw, but you can adjust this quite easily to where you want it and fire away. Another couple of nice little features with this one, when we do connect it to the rail, we do also on board have these two profile extenders which come off and they just clip straight into the face rail which is underneath.
I've had a lot of questions asked about that. Customers see these little black things and just not sure what they're for.
Yeah, so what they're for now is that gives us an extended reference point of the faceplate. So the faceplate was perfectly designed at 10 millimeters, so we could use it on 12 millimeter board, because that's quite common, especially for our friends over in continental Europe. But then we may be cutting a deeper board where we need more reference, or we may be cutting a board with a profiled edge or a bevel. You know, it could be a piece of moulding, anything like that that we want to trim. So what that does, it gives us that reference point so we can reference the face edge rather than it's trying to tilt into any mouldings or anything like that. And they're stored on board, so always there when you need them. Really nice little addition.
I love that.
And going one further with this one, we also have the extension piece that connects to the rail as well. So you may recognise our connection bars, which we've used for our rails for a number of years now. They have changed ever so slightly, been upgraded, and now we can use them with a supplied Allen key rather than hunting round for that flathead screwdriver. But again, this profile just connects into the profile that you've already got, locks into position by tightening those connection bars, but we now have a reference point that we can work from the edge of the material for repetitive cutting. So if we're constantly cutting to 800, as this is set at the moment, When that rests against the edge of the material and all's tightened up nice and tight, it means that the reference edge of the blade on the saw should be bang on 800 millimeters. So really quick repetitive cutting. So again, a little bit of confusion as the product codes are very similar, but we have the FSWA 90 degree angles only, and the new FSWA multiple angles and repetitive cutting.
That's just fantastic. Because I think there's been a lot of unbelievers out there that such a small, short reference face can give you such an accurate 90 degree cut. I mean, I've even used that on a 3 meter guardrail and it's been spot on. So now by using the extension, if you feel a little bit unsure, that just gives you a much longer reference face to work with as well. And but that's of course for the unbelievers, because as a short version, it's just spectacular. It works like a treat.
Yeah, still use all of your rail clamps, everything with it, just as before. But again, I just thought it was nice to take this opportunity while we were talking about our Unbeatable Double to look at a couple of accessories that make them even more unbeatable.
Yeah, just for those repeated cuts, that's just fantastic. So Cole, of course, I've got one of these, but customers, you've got one of these in their shopping basket. What else would you recommend?
Yeah, never, ever, ever, ever leave the shop when buying a rail saw or a new rail without buying more splinter guard.
Yeah.
All right. We know that this is reusable for many times, but it's not invincible. So you will have to replace it at some point. So make sure you've got 5 meters of splinter guard to change your splinter guards on your rail to keep those cuts perfect every time.
Yeah, and check out Cole's other videos on YouTube where he shows you how to set the splinter guard up. That's really, really important to make the most of your plunge saw, because it's just such a small thing, but it just makes such a huge difference to your life.
Yeah, so, but yeah, so again, you know, we always finish off by saying, of course, warranty all inclusive is applicable to the products that we've shown you, the tools, the batteries, the chargers. So make sure you register your purchase on your MyFestool account or with your MyFestool work app, and make sure you can get that done. Again, you'll get the added extra features and benefits that Alan described with the TPC and TDC, all the software updates with both the battery and the tool, and of course your software updates on your battery. So well worth a look, well worth to do. And again, I think that's just great. Thank you for watching us.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you.